Jack, I also want to talk to you about gambling on the Oscars because I want to make some money this year.
Well, that's I think that's where we start, right? That's got to be where the show starts. I'll edit in the opening or whatever later, but I literally just hit record, and I think that we just got our perfect opening from Deepak. We're breaking format anyway, so let's just go for it. I'm Riley Trahan, Nerdigo News, Deepak Chutness, baby brother Jackson here as always, joined by Walt Hickey, friend of the show. Hi, Walt.
Hey, how's it going? Thanks for having me on. Really appreciate it.
Nerdigo's first guest.
The first guest in the first era, the first guest in the new era. It's only appropriate.
And poetry, it rhymes.
We tend to do our branding stuff right before the Oscars, and we're here to talk Academy Awards again. So had to bring Walt back to do that.
Keep doing it.
As I said, we are going totally out of format today. We're just talking Academy Awards. This week, we're going to get the official announcement, right, of all the nominees for all the different categories.
I think in like 3 days.
Forcing this one out the door real quick to try and get on the record of what we think is going to be nominated in as many categories as we decide we really want to get into. We're going to start with some of the later in the night, sort of lower on the radar categories. We're going to work our way up, and we hope you'll stick with us through the end when we get to, picture, actor, all of those. But also, you're in the future and can control time. Just scroll to the end if that's really what you're dying to do.
We have to have already predicted it.
Yeah, right, exactly. It's a temporal pincer movement on the award season. All right, so let's start with some of our technical stuff. Deepak, you had mentioned there are some pretty obvious front runners, like not complete like Mad Max Fury Road types, but close to this, right? Sort of nominees that you think we're probably going to only see in some of these tech categories like sound and visual effects, and then some others that are going to come up across the board, but who will maybe get their opportunity to really be spotlighted here. Who are you expecting in these categories?
Sure. So I guess the obvious one to start with is visual effects. Anytime we have an Avatar movie release, it's pretty much a guarantee that it's going to win visual effects. I also have getting nominated, and this is based on the short list that came out about a month ago, so this is not just like shot in the dark. F1, Frankenstein, Superman, and Wicked for Good getting nominated for visual effects. I don't know if anyone has some thoughts there. Also in the sound category, it largely mirrors that. I have Avatar getting nominated, but I think F1 probably takes it. The other option that could win it, because it's such a popular movie, rightly so, is Sinners. I also have Frankenstein in there, and then I have Springsteen, Deliver Me From Nowhere, which I've written as Delivery.
Remember a year ago when Sinners came out?
There's always one of those, man. There's always like one of those early. It seemed, not always, but it does seem in the last couple of years, there's been one of those that's popped early and has just held on, and nobody's really been able to shake the memory of it, which I think works. I do think that sort of campaign of how clearly do you remember that Sinners came out a year ago does move people towards voting for it.
Didn't Everything Everywhere come out in like first quarter of that year? And
yeah, that sounds correct.
To kind of stay strong the whole way and win like 7 awards.
Feels like a spring movie.
Also, just to quickly speed round, I know production design, costume design, hair and makeup are never the same thing, but this is one of those years where I think we have a clear front runner on all of those. And again, the same way that there's an Avatar movie, it kind of automatically will win visual effects. Anytime there's a Guillermo del Toro movie, it's pretty much guaranteed to be the front runner in all of those, which would be
well, pretty well deserved this time. I feel like that's the things that movie did best.
Yeah, I have my issues with that movie, but those 3 categories are not among them.
Costumes ain't one of them.
The visual effects guild awards, they're the VESs. They're nominees for outstanding visual effects in a photoreal feature, which is a cool title.
Right.
I love that.
Are F1, Jurassic World, Lost Bus, Avatar, Fire and Ash, and How to Train Your Dragon, which I think is probably a pretty strong 5.
Lost Bus did not do much for me. There's a lot of fire effects that looked a little wonky in there, but
I remember you reporting back that Lost Bus didn't do a lot for you. I think that's why I ended up not seeing it. But I think that those could be a something like that could be a strong visual effects contingent. I think you're right to call out Superman. I don't know how. I'm never sure how the awards people feel about superhero movies these days. Like if they can sort of carry.
Well, none of the Marvel movies made the shortlist, which is pretty surprising to me because everyone was raving about the way F4 looked, or rather Fantastic Four.
Fantastic Four, right? As opposed to F1.
Nobody raved about the way F4 looked.
Yeah. But yeah, it didn't make the cut, which is surprising. So I threw Superman in there. I can't remember.
Yeah, well, I do understand, Riley, because you watch Superman and then you're like, this is the coolest thing ever. And
Yeah,
then nobody else seems
agreed.
to feel that way.
I do think
Yeah.
it's interesting that like there's some strategy that goes on here. A lot of times, like I don't want to call it Netflix in particular, but Netflix is actually like a pretty good example of this. Is that the movies that they tend to push really, really hard at the Oscars tend to be the ones that can compete in a lot of categories. And this hasn't always been the
Oh,
case.
sure.
A lot of times, if you were looking at like Focus Features or Searchlight or things like that, they would push movies that had like a really good performance or two just to get that nomination in Best Actress or Best Actor or whatever. But with
Right.
Netflix and a few other folks are responsible for this too, invariably they have kind of a shotgun strategy where if they push a movie hard, they want it to compete in every single down ballot category because they're kind of for Netflix, not to diminish the work that they put out, a nomination is kind of as good as a win because they can tout it as award nominated, Oscar nominated, BAFTA win, that kind of thing. So they want to be in the mix. And so if you look at a movie like Frankenstein, perfect example of this. That movie is going to be able to compete in best supporting, best actor, best all that kind of stuff, while also being in every single one of the down ballot ones. The problem with those movies is, in my view, they don't tend to actually be able to seal the deal on a lot of the big prizes. So if you think of things like The Trial of the Chicago 7, if you think of things like
Right.
Roma, if you think of things that have historically kind of been Netflix's push all the chips on every different part of the table, none of them actually bring home the Oscar for Best Picture at the end of the go, but they are very competitive down the line. And so you never want to kind of overthink the campaigning element of some of this, but with Netflix in particular, hearing you shout out Frankenstein in every one of those categories, it is worth to think about how some of that strategy comes into play.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, and we haven't really gotten into this yet, but on the Apple side of it, I think F1 is doing a similar thing.
Yes.
Like I think F1 is just going to be a down the ballot player in visual effects, in sound, in maybe production,
cinematography. Yeah.
Cinematography is going to be in. They put all those little tiny cameras on that big fast race car.
Well, I think part of it is also, and this is maybe jumping ahead, that Top Gun Maverick didn't get nominated, which everyone thought would. So it's a lot of the same team there, including Claudio Miranda at DP. So I think they're going to try to mea culpa him this time.
Totally possible.
Frankenstein is definitely doing better than F1 as far as the betting markets are concerned.
Jack, tell us what you have on the predictive market side of it before we move away from
trying to make
for those three, it does. Frankenstein holds a pretty comfortable lead around 80% odds, having shot up pretty dramatically recently.
This is for cinematography?
This is for all three. It has, if you want to be particular, not for cinematography, but for makeup and hairstyle, it has 88%. Production design, it has 81%, and costume design, it has 83%.
These are a
little
cinematography is one of the more contentious categories, but the leader is currently Sinners with 50%.
Yeah.
I find it interesting, Jack, and maybe we can just talk about this really quickly before we get going any further. But before we started recording, you were mentioning, I guess it was this morning we were talking about it, how there are nomination odds, some stuff in some categories up to like 99% at this point, right? Even the to win odds you had mentioned were pretty, some of them seemed pretty comfortable.
I think in general, all of people feel like they know how this is going to shake out. I was saying there's only a handful of categories that are like at or below around 50% odds for who's going to win, which I think is pretty surprising. So we'll see. I mean, obviously, not everyone, people don't know everything. Sometimes things are surprising, but I do think it's interesting that people feel like they know how this one's going to go.
So do I, especially in some of the categories it sounded like you were pretty sure about. So, okay, so let's go. Right now in visual effects, I have down for us Avatar, F1, Jurassic World, How to Train Your Dragon. Give me a fifth there.
Visual effects? Man,
sure.
I mean, it's just
it
kind of
have to be a credible assertion. You can just throw one out, but
yeah, I mean, like I do like Fantastic Four in no small part because Disney doesn't have a lot going on this year, and so sometimes they can kind of move the needle. A lot of times, unfortunately, with visual effects, as with animation, people tend to do the ones that their kids liked, and so that does kind of have an effect when it comes to some of the nomination stuff. So I wouldn't be surprised if it is one of the more superhero-y kind of ones.
Let's get it in there. Cool.
Riley, I know you were going off the VES nominations, but I just want to let you know How to Train Your Dragon did not make the shortlist, so it will not get nominated.
Well, get it out of here.
Rip.
That's
we already
fine.
did this movie.
Yeah.
The short list, by the way, is Avatar, Electric State, F1, Frankenstein, Jurassic, Lost Bus, Sinners, Superman, Tron, and Wicked.
We'll throw Frankenstein.
Remember Tron?
Oh, yeah. Honestly, like if Fantastic Four didn't even catch a shortlist thing, I didn't realize that. Then that's probably Disney
Doesn't bode
Disney
great.
did make Tron. I don't know. People like Tron.
Disney did make Tron.
Let's go with Academy Award nominated Tron Ares. Sounds fine to me.
And the last one didn't get nominated, which is crazy. But anyway, yeah.
There
were only
slight,
three at that
the-
time.
The
Legacy?
okay-ish one.
Yeah.
Um,
Anyway.
Where are we at in sound? Do we feel like we have some options? We have nominees. I'm looking up the Golden Reel Award.
So again, for the short list on sound, we have Avatar, F1, Frankenstein, Mission Impossible, One Battle, Sinners, Sirat, Springsteen, Superman, and Wicked.
I haven't seen Surat yet.
Neither have I.
I didn't think I've heard of it.
I can't think of what country it's from, Jackson. It's one of the international film contenders, but I feel like it's the one I've heard the least about, but I feel like it's sort of surging all of a sudden.
It is. That and Hindrajab have really had a late surge here.
Okay, I thought I'd get some help from the 73rd Annual Golden Reel Awards, but it seems like maybe they haven't announced their nominees yet. So I'm kind of floundering in the sound
Get it
category.
together.
Deepak, what do you have?
I had, what did I have for sound? Avatar, F1, Frankenstein, Sinners, and Springsteen.
A lot of good sounds. Except
Sinners.
kind of not really. Now that I think about it.
For what it's worth, I have F1, 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 and F1.
Yeah, well, F1, Cars Do Be Loud.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Right.
That's what everybody says is the whole appeal of going to F1.
It has the most
is how big
sound.
and loud it feels.
Absolutely. It has so
the
much sound. They
soundiest
put out
movie.
that little haptic trailer that rumbled your iPhone right up.
That was really cool.
Oh
Yeah.
my god, I forgot about that.
You
That
can't forget
was
about the haptic trailer, Jack.
And again, just like we talked about the same team being on the cinematography for Maverick, the same team was also doing the sound for Maverick, and they won. So
Well, here we go. Sorry, I have now found the Golden Reel Award nominees,
There you go.
and
Just
there's
need a
our
minute.
Begonia, F1, Frankenstein, One Battle, and Sinners. So
I could see Sinners. I feel like obviously music was a really important part of it, but like also the other audio design was pretty good. But like I'm trying to think of Avatar. I can't think of any moments where like the audio of that movie stood out to me very much.
although
Although that's also kind of
Dolby
true of the
was-
movie.
When the big balloon ships come up at the beginning in Atmos, it was pretty cool.
Hmm.
I realized I left off Mission Impossible, but Mission Impossible sounded like it would be a good movie, and it wasn't. So.
that was the sound of possible. Well, that's fine. We can move on to score and song. So I think song. Are we just going to say Golden sort of has it on lock and?
There's no.
Yeah,
I wouldn't say on lock.
I would bet a house on it. Truly, I do not think that anything else could possibly compete there this year.
Last
enough.
time I Seen the Sun from Sinners is on the short list. I think that probably has some.
Yeah, I would say
Upset
Sinners is
potential.
probably the strongest contention.
No Place Like Home from Wicked, Train Dreams from the movie called Train Dreams. There's also The Girl in the Bubble from Wicked.
Wait, is
I mean,
Diane
highest to
Warren up
lowest
for
would be
anything this
interesting.
year?
You did all your good songs
No,
already,
she
Wicked.
is.
Get out of here.
Dear Me from Diane Warren. That would be. I think that will get a nomination just because she always finds a way to get in. She's got like 30% of the branch who likes her, but not enough to actually get her over the top.
The
Well,
funny
was
part is
this-
that it's for a movie called Diane Warren Relentless.
I was going to say,
know.
wasn't this the song she did for the documentary about how she can't win an Oscar?
Yeah. So again,
That'd be pretty good.
I do. It is poetry. You know, I would say that is that is absolutely getting a nomination this year.
I
If
think
that
that's-
doesn't work, then she'd have to get eaten by a bear.
I think both of those are solid to put in. Deepak, are we at 3 or 5 song nominations?
We're
these
at
days?
5.
5. So okay, we do need to pull out 2 more here. Are they only running? You seem to have the short lists up in front of you. Are they only doing one K-pop Demon Hunters song? Are they just kind of putting all their chips on Golden?
It's all on Golden. They have 2 from Wicked. I think that's the only one with multiple. I would throw highest to lowest in there, even though my favorite song from that movie was "Pack Out the Trunk from the Front."
That was that.
Certified banger.
I think having a Wicked in there might be smart. What do you? Does anybody have?
Yeah,
an
probably
opinion?
a Wicked in there.
There's No Place Like Home and Girl in the Bubble. I don't know either.
Yeah, we'll do it like baseball. Wicked 2 song to be named later. That's fine.
We
All right.
can't have Defying Gravity, but we have to rebuild it in the aggregate. All right.
Right. Yeah. What does it do? It stays in your head. All right. Score.
Stupid joke.
Score. There is quite a bit of a long short list, but I'll read it out real quick. It's Avatar, Begonia, for some reason Captain America, Diane Warren, F1, Frankenstein, Hamnet, Hedda, House of Dynamite, Jay Kelly, Marty Supreme, Nuremberg, One Battle After Another, Sinners, Surratt, Train Dreams, Tron, Truth and Treason, Wake Up Dead Man, and Wicked.
This is the short list.
Yes.
Allegedly.
And
20 scores.
20 scores, yes.
And before we started recording, Deepak, you were mentioning that the probably overall odds-on favorite is Ludwig Göransson, who did the Sinners score, who has been just sort of the Academy Awards favorite the last few years in a row.
This would be his third if he won, because he's already won for Black Panther and Oppenheimer.
I think that Hamnet is also one to watch in this one, for what it's worth. That movie is very much a score-driven movie, and Max Richter has worked in the industry a fairly long time. I don't know how much folks have seen it or want to talk about it or consequential moments in it, but like On the Nature of Daylight, which has been in half a dozen movies in the past decade, has a very crucial needle drop in this. And I do think that that's the movie, like, even if it doesn't have a really solid pathway towards Best Picture, the score really could be an angle where it can compete.
Interesting. Wasn't that also used in Arrival?
It was used in Arrival. It was used in, what's the one where they need to reignite the sun? Anyway, Cillian Murphy movie,
Sunshine.
But that's the one. Yeah, no, it's truly everywhere. And it's the guy who did the full score for this film as well, in addition to featuring it. So it is I think that one might be a little bit of a sleeper opportunity for that one.
For what it's worth, I had Hamnet, Jay Kelly, One Battle, Sinners, and Train Dreams. I've heard a lot about Train Dreams score, but I have not.
So One Battle, I think, is an interesting one to have on there. Hans Zimmer is also the official name on the box composer of F1.
Okay.
And that just becomes a do people just default to voting for Hans Zimmer question.
Force of habit.
Yeah, right. I would make a case for the Marty Supreme score, which I think, just the Safdie energy is very like musically driven. I think part of why that movie is so stressful. But I think any of those would be good. Let's just
positive.
And just the running. I just have Frankenstein in my like clipboard ready to paste in at any moment now. So we've got Sinners. We've got Hamnet. That's perfect. That means each of you gets to give me one more. Jackson, who do you want?
For score?
Yep.
Jiminy Willikers. I'm not sure. Sorry. Let me look at some movies.
That's fine. You can pass, but it's going to be harder now. Deepak.
One Battle.
One Battle. Walter?
Tron Ares. They love those guys.
Is that Reznor again?
Yeah, that's Nine Inch Nails.
Mm-hmm.
Jack, you want Hans? You want Frankenstein?
He wants.
Yeah, I'll take Hans.
F1. Throw it in there. Why not?
I won't take it for anything else.
All right. Now, this is sort of the probably Frankenstein Rock the House section of our ballot. Production design, costume design, hair and makeup.
Mm-hmm.
I'll just go ahead and immediately slot Frankenstein in for all three of those. Deepak, I know that you're looking at your ballot right now. What do you have? Let's start with production design. What do you have there?
So there's no short list. This is me just off the cuff rather. Production design, I had Frankenstein, I had Phoenician Schemes, Sinners, Wake Up Dead Man, and Wicked for Good.
Phoenician Schemes.
I can give you all of the movies that have more than a 1% chance on the market.
Oh, yeah. Why don't we start there?
We have Frankenstein with 82, Wicked for Good with 13, Sinners with 4, Avatar, Marty Supreme, One Battle After Another, and Hamnet all are at 1.
Well, Frankenstein, Wicked for Good, and Sinners, I think, are 3 smart ones.
Yeah. I just automatically slot Wes Anderson into these kinds of categories when I can.
Yeah.
Sure, yeah. I hear you.
Why not? We'll throw him in there. I love
maybe Wake Up Dead Man? Question mark.
I had it in there. I thought the production design was excellent.
Yeah.
And it's also important to the story, just sort of the way that like the crypt is designed and how that plays into the big twist and all that.
I don't know. I found that one to be completely unbelievable. It was the most Lutheran Catholic church I've ever seen in my life. I don't know how he thought that he was ever going to do that, but that was some Episcopalian bullshit. And anybody can clock that stuff from a mile away if you actually grew up in the faith. That being said, really dug it. I completely agree.
I don't know about Ryan Johnson's opinions.
No, he actually
His
great
faith
quote on this.
background?
He said that he grew up in like the evangelical tradition, and he wanted to set this movie in a Catholic church because, and I'm quoting him here, he didn't want the church to look like a pottery barn, which was his experience. So I really respected where he kind of came from on that front. That being said, that is a Lutheran ass church.
Well, it's weird because he never makes controversial choices in his movies.
Yeah, no, famously not.
Never messes with the canon.
Real
Yeah.
middle of the road filmmaker.
It's going to be really tough for him to weather the inevitable Twitter storm that comes his way after we release this episode, and everybody's like, "What's up with your church design, Ryan?" It'll be like nothing he's ever dealt with before in his life. Okay, so we've got 5 good options down for production design, I think, with Frankenstein, Wicked for Good, Sinners, The Phoenician Scheme, and Wake Up Dead Man. Costume design, right now I have Frankenstein, and I'm going to go ahead and put Sinners 2 costume design. Sinners as well, not
Sinners 2
I've got to
costume.
wait for the rights to revert back to Ryan Coogler to get that one. But Ruth Carter is the costume designer on that movie. She's, of course, an Academy Award winner and a many-time nominee. 2-time winner now. Great.
For both
Perfect.
Black
Even
Panthers.
better.
Yep.
And there was so much of that, like, internet gossip about the Blade costumes getting repurposed for Sinners. And I sort of thought that was maybe overhyped, especially just because knowing that Ruth Carter has 2 Academy Awards, I couldn't imagine her being like just wholesale bring over all the Blade costumes and throw them on whoever.
It's also hard to think of Mahershala Ali wearing what Haley Steinfeld wears in this movie.
Well, that's interesting that's hard for you. I found it very easy to imagine that myself. But
I just don't have the imagination, I guess.
Yeah, so I'm going to throw Sinners in costume design there underneath probably the presumed winner of Frankenstein.
Wicked got a nomination last time they did Wicked, and those are probably the same costumes.
I think Paul Taswell won last year for Wicked.
Sure, so we could definitely throw a Wicked for Good on there.
There's no.
Well, you like any fancy costumes this year?
I don't know. I think they're kind of hitting the hits. I'm trying to think of what's a good one to shout out, but I'm kind of coming up blank. It's just, this is the classic, like, it's just going to be Frankenstein. It's just going to be whatever, shotgun style.
Why are we talking about this?
Hamnet, maybe? I don't know. Did people like Hamnet's costumes?
Oh, sure. Yeah. Hamnet. Yeah, that's old-timey.
Yeah.
A period piece, yeah.
Riley, what about Hedda for you?
Ooh, I mean...
Oh, no.
That sounds like a with my heart, not with my head vote, but I would love it if it happened.
Also, for you, Riley, what I had in there for costume design was Downton Abbey.
Oh, that is for me. I think I'm going to put Marty Supreme down. It would be nice.
Well, in that case, I want to say Fackham Hall, which is the Downton Abbey spoof movie that came out a month ago, which I think did better costumes than Downton Abbey.
I haven't watched it yet, Walt. Did it pay off as a lampooning of the...
Yeah, listen, it was an hour and a half, and it was funny, and like it's I think it was like written by Jimmy Carr, so if he does anything for you, you'll dig it. But as a person who likes those like Merchant Ivory things, it's like I thought it was a pretty fun one. Yeah.
Amazing. Have to get to it. Hair and makeup. We already have Frankenstein and Sinners. Give me a third.
The short list for the record is Alto Knights, Frankenstein, Kokuo, Marty Supreme, Nuremberg, One Battle, Sinners, Smashing Machine, where they made The Rock look like The Rock, Ugly Stepsister, and Wicked for Good.
Yeah, probably Wicked, huh?
Once again, they made her green.
Yeah,
did it good.
They did make her so green. Kokuo is, and I'm not sure how to pronounce that, but that's just too cool. Nomination for them. As excited as I am to maybe get to that in IMAX this week.
And because it's about kabuki theater, I feel like the makeup is actually pretty integral too.
Yeah, right, exactly. But I would be inclined to pull for it, but I think it's probably just too cool a thing. All right, let's get to some of the categories where Walt will have some math.
Yeah,
Jack
although I do want to say makeup and hairstyling, Marty Supreme, they did some really interesting stuff in that, and I've seen some of the reels of like what they were doing to Timothée Chalamet's face to make him look like that, and it was pretty good.
Sweaty.
Yeah, he has prosthetics on for most of the movie. It's fun. And then Nuremberg, they actually, I don't know if you guys knew this, but they made Russell look fat, and it's kind of really interesting how they pulled that off.
Really tough. Yeah,
they did the impossible.
It's insane.
Right. They had to have a hoagie on set every day for him.
It's crazy. Yeah.
For some reason, it was the costuming.
It's a practical effect. Yeah.
It's silly.
All right. Original screenplay. Let's start with. Why not?
Sure.
Sure.
I
have a lot of foreign
actually
movies
have
as well.
lists for some of these now, rather than just pulling off of.
So
But apparently my list is basically just the Golden Globes nominations. So I have One Battle, Sinners, Marty,
One Battle is
Weapons,
adapted.
and Sentimental Value.
One Battle is adapted, not original.
One Battle is adapted. Great call. Move
Get
that
it
over.
out of here.
Yeah.
Get it out of here. It's based on Vineland.
Get in Weapons.
I had
One of the
it
movies
was
you
just
didn't
an
mention.
accident. Marty Supreme, Secret Agent, Sentimental Value, and Sinners.
I wonder how competitive an international picture can be in screenplay.
That's a very
Like,
good point.
Let me tell you,
Parasite.
it's got third best odds. That doesn't mean it has good odds. It's got third best.
So the thing about screenplay that's kind of interesting is that the writers branch is one of the branches that has actually kind of shrunken in size, compared to, I mean, not in raw numbers in terms of actual percentage of the Academy. I should say they have increased by about 200 people in the past decade or two. But when you see the big international expansion of the Academy, that hasn't really, writers have not been the nexus of that necessarily. So you have a pretty good point that they might be a little bit more behind the eight ball in that particular category for an international film compared to the broader Academy, where international has been doing splendidly for the past couple of years.
Right. Yes. And it seems like we've seen, like, in the general larger body, almost more of a saturation. Every year we have like one or two sort of, like, at a certain point it seemed like it was kind of a token international film thing. Now it seems to just be more like there's maybe not like high-minded dramas for adults anymore. So instead we're just importing them. But that's fine. We're gonna have tariffs on that now. Okay, so I have Sinners down. I have Jackson calling out Weapons. I'm happy to throw in either Secret Agent or It Was Just an Accident, or both, Deepak, if you think those are seriously in the mix here.
I mean, maybe you guys know better than me, but I feel like Sentimental Value is going to be a bigger player as we go further up towards picture and even some of the acting categories. So if there's a foreign film, if there's only one for whatever reason that has to get in, I'm tempted to lean towards that.
Yeah, I think we can throw Sentimental Value.
Can I give you some numbers?
Why not, Jackson?
I would say that a week ago the category was way closer between Sinners and It Was Just an Accident and Sentimental Value.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
It was like Sinners was still in the lead, but then Sinners has skyrocketed at the expense of It Was Just an Accident mostly.
Okay.
Well, because I know that One Battle won
the
Best
Globe.
Screenplay at the Globes, and I know Sinners won the Critics' Choice Screenplay Award. So those are probably the top of each of their categories, but that's fine. We'll get Sentimental Value in there, and then, like we said, two more films to be named later. On the adapted side, is Hamnet adapted?
It is. It's from a book. I've got Begonia, Hamnet, No Other Choice, One Battle, and Wake Up Dead Man.
Wake Up Dead Man's a good one. Begonia, I would like to. It's one of those things where I'm like, oh yeah, every Yorgos movie they like inevitably just like hand him a ton of nominations.
They
right?
love him. Yeah,
they like him a lot.
And for what it's worth, Emma Stone is also campaigning for Yorgos a lot too, and she has a lot of credibility within the organization. So like, it is Yorgos, but it is also like he does have a lot of friends in that crowd as people who have advocates on both sides of the Atlantic. So that is worth definitely getting in there.
And that works in his favor, right? Because then when you see Emma Stone give such a powerful statement about Miss Piggy being her own person, you're like, man, I hope that Yorgos can pull out a win.
Yeah.
And this is why I've been trying to be friends with Emma Stone for like 15 years now. Like, she has a lot of credibility in the industry.
She has a lot of connections in the industry. You're like, that's my in right there.
We're coming for that podcast globe, I'm telling you.
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely. All right. So on cinematography, we have discussed a little bit already that we were interested in the cinematography of F1. They stuck all those little cameras to the race car, so I'll throw that in cinematography. I will hit Control V to dial Frankenstein into the conversation here. Mm-hmm. What else are we thinking in the cinematography camp?
So it looks like One Battle and Sinners are also shoe-ins.
Yeah.
This might end up being a bit of a contest between the two of them, with Sinners maybe edging them out. And Jackson, I'm sure you'll confirm that with your numbers. But my fifth slot, because it's been surging as far as technical nominations, especially in this category recently, I'm going to say Train Dreams.
One that I still haven't seen, but it sounds really beautiful, and I would love to get to it. My problem is I want to watch it in my on my nicer TV, but that room's a mess right now, and I've been neglecting cleaning it. So then, in reaction, I just can't watch nice movies now. Jack, does Train Dreams, Sinners, One Battle, Frankenstein, F1, does that comport with what you're seeing?
Pretty much right on the ball. Over the last month, One Battle was at 50 and Sinners was at 25, and they've basically traded places slowly and steadily over the month. But the next three are Train Dreams, Frankenstein, and then Marty Supreme and Hamnet both have 1% on F1, but I'm sure that's as fine as any of them.
Sure. In this case, I will cede to F1. All right. We're going to get to two now that are kind of specialty races. I will just sort of turn the show over to each of you guys to do with this category what you will. Let's start with animated. And Walt, what do you think, aside from K-pop Demon Hunters, what do you think is going to be competitive in this year's animated race?
I think with the animated race, you are going to see the kind of Disney does show up in this, so I would be very, very surprised if Elio does not get a nomination. I think that just going down the animated. Oh, that's animated short. Oh no, live action. Trying to find the short list.
Zootopia came out.
Yeah,
and everyone loved.
Correct. I don't know that there's a short list for animated feature.
You're right. There isn't. Sorry, I just wanted to make sure that I wasn't accidentally doing it. Elio, I think there's what is it? Little Amelie. Is that one of? Yeah.
Little Amelie, or the character of something.
Yeah.
Character of Rain.
It's the classic European too long of a title for a movie that's probably for children.
Yes.
So that one seems like it's been getting recognition across the board, and then Arco has also very much been in the conversation. Yeah. But I don't know. It's interesting because like usually there are like 3 or 4 American films, and then they'll have the fifth one be either a European production, or if there's a Miyazaki movie, that one. And like as the Academy has expanded, and like the animation branch in particular has been one of the biggest beneficiaries of that expansion, increasingly you're seeing like 2, maybe 3 of these movies be international productions. It's not just going to one from DreamWorks, one from Disney, one from Sony or Leica. It is very much a more internationally skewing nominating body. So that's been kind of one of the more interesting evolutions over the past 5 years or so.
Arco, fuck yourself. I didn't want to interrupt, but I did want to say, I agree that it has been cool to see that space open up a little more since like it stopped kind of being the Pixar DreamWorks show. And I do feel like either Little Amelie or Arco could be like a really cool nomination. I do worry. I mean, K-pop Demon Hunters seems like the sort of film that at this point is too powerful for this to happen. But there has definitely been years in the past where I've been like, oh, there's a really cool animated movie that everybody loves, and it's just going to go to the Disney movie.
Yeah.
And it does not feel like this is that year.
Especially when they do a live Golden performance or whatever.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And Deepak, what about international film?
International, we have a pretty robust selection this year, and there is a short list. I'll just list off from the top what I had, not the short list. I think it was just an accident as a shoe-in. I think no other choice is pretty safe. We already talked about sentimental value. I think that gets in. There's been a lot of buzz about The Secret Agent, the Brazilian movie, which I think is also going to get in. And Brazil is, of course, the defending champion of this award. The fifth slot is a little interesting because there's really, I think it's it could go one of 2 ways. It could go to Spain for Surat, which we've mentioned, or it could go to Tunisia for the voice of Hind Rajab. There's also Germany with Sound of Falling, which has also been a bit of an indie darling on the festival circuit. India made the short list with a movie called Homebound, which I've heard good things about, but I don't know if it has enough juice to really go all the way. And then, of course, we mentioned Kokuo coming from Japan already as well. So there are more than a few potential contenders for that fifth spot. I'm going with Surat, but I wouldn't be surprised if it ends up being any of the other ones I just mentioned.
It has been, we talked in the past about the way that different streaming services like attacked their Oscar campaign strategy. Walt even discussed it a little bit at the beginning of this episode. We were talking about how, for Netflix, it's just sort of a numbers game. I don't know if any distribution company has been as successful at any sort of campaign similar to that as Neon has been in sort of locking down the international film market for American audiences over the last couple of years. They have just sort of reliably been the distributor of the Palme d'Or winner for the last however many years.
Since
And if this year,
much, yeah.
if they go 5 for 5 on the international film nominations this year, I just think like they should call it. They've done it. Time to move on to bigger and better aspirations for yourselves. Like clearly you can do this. But yeah, I mean, Secret Agent, No Other Choice, Sentimental Value, It Was Just an Accident, and Surratt are all Neon Pictures. So that would be, as well as Arco.
Goodness.
So yeah, that would be insane. All right, let's now get to the sort of top of the line, the big ones that everybody cares about.
One quick question.
Yes.
Did we want to talk about editing, and did we want to talk about the new award for best casting?
Of course we do. Well, we should certainly talk about best casting, but let's talk about editing, Deepak. What do you have in the editing department?
I'll keep it quick because we've talked about these movies a million times already. I've got F1, Hamnet, Marty Supreme, One Battle, and Sinners. I would be very, very surprised if either F1 or One Battle doesn't end up winning it.
The Eddie Awards are frustratingly late in the campaign season, so I never know what to pull off of when I'm trying to figure this out. So I will defer to you on that, Deepak. Jack, do you have any big...
I do have numbers, and they mostly exactly agree with Deepak, although One Battle After Another is in the lead with 60%.
Sounds about right.
But over the last month, it's losing ground to Sinners and F1.
Oh. Well, interesting enough. It would be cool. F1 was fine. It would be kind of wild if it started like, I don't know if I might accidentally get really caught up in the momentum of that awards campaign if I'm not careful.
Based on what I have read, it's apparently a very big hit with older members of the Academy who think
it's your Coda voters.
Yeah. Jerry Bruckheimer kind of thing, right?
You put a Brad Pitt on screen, they go crazy about it.
Soaking wet.
Let's start with supporting actress.
Casting?
Sure.
No, yes. Let's start with casting.
Well, we just talked about this.
Deepak's so excited to talk about casting, he won't let me obviously try and go past it. No. This is going to be the first time they're doing it. I don't even know what to make of this. Who's going to get nominated?
How are you supposed to predict something like this?
There is a short list, and I'll read it out real quick. It's Frankenstein, Hamnet, Marty Supreme, One Battle, Secret Agent, Sentimental Value, Sinners, Surratt, Weapons, and Wicked.
Okay.
They all did cast people.
I would put Sinners. Sinners has been kind of the darling of a lot of these sort of popular awards this season. I would put that in there. I think Weapons deserves to go in there because there was a lot of shuffling around of that cast behind the scenes. People kind of left. And of course, the Amy Madigan discovery of it all. She's been around forever, but no one knew who she was except being Ed Harris's wife, and now she might end up winning supporting actress for it.
In a similar
seems like a shoe-in as well.
Oh, One Battle, totally. I was just going to say, similar to Weapons, Marty Supreme has just so many faces.
Yeah.
That I think it might be one to watch in the casting category.
And then the fifth one I had in casting was Sentimental Value, just because I think there's going to be a lot of acting awards from that, but I'm open to...
That Marty Supreme call out's good, because when I saw that movie, I was like, I can't believe that all these people were in it. And then I went and watched the credits, and I was like, wait, that guy was in it? Like, I didn't like Penn Jillette being in it was.
Penn Jillette was the one that really twisted my brain around.
I had to look him up later. I was like, holy shit! I didn't. He looks like it looks like when you shave like a monkey. It's just like, oh, I guess I kind of see it. Like, but it's just he did not look like himself. Like he's completely transformed. It's an incredible performance. And honestly, frankly, he should win the film Best Hair and Makeup. But either way, it's a good one.
All right, Deepak, now okay if I go on to supporting actress?
You have my permission to proceed.
All right, fantastic. Supporting actress, let's talk about it. Walt, you I guess I haven't done this properly. Walt, part of why we invited you onto the show is because of your really, really comprehensive modeling that you do on Numlock around the awards season.
Oh, nice.
Could you talk? Let's have this be the part where you talk us through that a little bit and maybe learn us up about the numbers.
Yeah, totally.
Since I started the show with that or something.
It's all good. So basically, this is like a continuation of the model that I was running when I was at 538. I was there for about 5 years, from 2013 to 2018, and I was doing their entertainment and Oscar coverage on that kind of stuff. And the model there was very much essentially looking at the historical accuracy of precursors, like, you know, the BAFTAs and the SAG Awards and the Critics' Choice Award and the Golden Globes, figuring out how to make those into numerical scores. So typically, you know, accuracy, you square it so that very accurate things get a little bit more punch than somewhat accurate things. And then you adjust based on whether or not it's an external critics group who is not a voter of the Academy, or if it's, you know, kind of surveying an organization that really resembles the voters of the Academy, folks like BAFTA, SAG, DGA, things like that. And all it does is basically it adjusts over the course of the years how strongly we should be valuing different awards based on how accurately they predict stuff. When I left, I made some tweaks to it. The main thing that I tweaked was that the Academy has really changed very drastically and quickly. It went from about 6,000 members consistently for 3 decades to, as of 2020, 9,000 members, and today 10,000 members. That was in reaction to Oscar So White. That was in reaction to, frankly, the organization getting a little out of step. And there was also a reaction to kind of a bigger shift that's taken place with the Academy, where they want to be less of kind of like a social club and a library and more a large museum in Los Angeles that has institutional kind of grounding. And so you've actually seen like the assets of this organization increase from, you know, maybe $400 million to $2 billion over the course of the ensuing period too, because they're really trying to put down sticks. And so the long and short of it is that like this Academy has transformed really, really significantly in the past 10 years. And if you are gauging the efficacy of precursors based on the previous 25 years, you're kind of fucking yourself, just because you are basically having 60% of your data come from a period of time that doesn't even remotely resemble the organization. So a lot of this, the main adjustment that I did was make it a little bit more, what have you done for me lately? So like the data is all out there. If you check out awards.news, you can see the link to it. You can download it. You can do your own interpretation of it. But it basically just looks at the accuracy over time, weighted so that more recent results are better. And it just gives each precursor a score and allows us to basically suss out what the actual meaning of individual wins at the BAFTAs, at SAG, have and mean for the Oscar race. And so that's mostly what I get up to over there.
And we would absolutely point everybody towards, I mean, we'll link obviously Numlock and all sorts of other Walt-related stuff in the show notes, but we would definitely encourage people to follow you guys as we go into award season, because you always do such great coverage there. Now that you've explained a little bit how your thinking works behind it, can you take us through how you sort of see the Best Supporting Actress race stacking up? I imagine Tiana Taylor and Amy Madigan probably high on your conversation list, right?
No, you're right. Like, so they traded the Critics' Choice of the Golden Globe, and I think what's really interesting is that a thing that I've worried about, and I will invite your guys' thoughts on this too, is that like we've kind of seen this trend in the past couple of years where somebody will, like, these can be very easily swept. You see, you know, for instance, the Golden Globes for the best leading actor and actress can get split. Oftentimes, those are very contentious. But unfortunately, with a lot of these supporting roles, somebody will just get on a roll. They'll win at Golden Globes, they'll win at Critics' Choice, and then it kind of becomes an inevitable. They win at SAG, they win at BAFTA for whatever reason. I think sometimes with supporting roles, people can be a little bit bandwagony. And my fear this year was that we would have, you know, yet another one of these situations, which we've kind of had, frankly, for the past couple of years. And that is not the case, because both Golden Globes and the Critics' Choice have split their decision. And so we actually have a very interesting race in both the supporting categories. Yes, Amy Madigan and Tiana Taylor do lead, but those are not really kind of set in stone. I would say that right now we know who our SAG nominees are, and if any one of those were to take out a win, then honestly that would completely upend the race in their favor. You know, the Critics Awards are pretty good, but in general, I also follow some of the more predictive regional Critics Awards. You know, folks like what's kind of funny is that people are just like, oh, if we want to look at regional critics awards, we should look at the New York and LA and like Chicago critics circles, right? And what we've actually kind of found historically is that they don't give a shit about who the Oscars vote for. They actually like kind of having their own idiosyncratic stuff. New York Film Critics Association famously has, like, you know, fairly atypical picks compared to other folks, because they like recognizing talent that might not get recognized other places. So what actually...
They gave their best director this year to Jafar Panahi from
exactly.
Just an Accident, who was a great director, but probably not first in line for a Oscar this year.
You've nailed it. Yeah, totally. And so the funny thing, though, is that there are critics organizations, regional ones, that are actually pretty good at mimicking the Oscar taste. And I think that this is basically just because they can be a pretty good proxy for how effective an Oscar campaign is. Like if you are able to do the groundwork of hitting the Iowa film critics, of hitting the Dallas-Fort Worth film critics, of hitting, the Las Vegas film critics, and you're able to demonstrate wins there and nominations there, that is actually a pretty good proxy for how effectively you can reach the 10,000 or so voting members of the Academy. And so the thing, though, is that there's no unanimity from the actually predictive awards this year. That we don't actually have, like in the past, we've had, somebody would sweep a lot of those and it would be an early sign for them. So my long and short is, after a lot of talking about how good this model is, we actually don't really know at this phase in the cycle who's really up or down. Like this is actually a pretty open race on both of our supporting prizes. Obviously, Amy Madigan and Tiana Taylor are leading, but I would not be surprised if that shifted a little bit down the line.
No, I think that you're probably, well, it's no shock to say I think you're probably right. I feel like half the time I'm just like, well, I read on Walt's blog the day he said. I think so. The SAG nominees are Odessa A. Zion from Marty Supreme, Ariana Grande from Wicked for Good, Amy Madigan, Wunmi Mosaku from Sinners, and Tiana Taylor from One Battle After Another. I think if any of those folks win, it could very much feel like their race to lose. But with that being said, Jack, do you have a different set of numbers? Are you pointing in a different direction?
A little bit. I was expecting something slightly different from you, Walt, because the people voting with their wallets about a week ago decided that, no, actually, Tiana Taylor's going to win this one.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And she went from 39% up to 70%. I don't know if everybody watched the movie and was just in awe of how hot.
Well, it was the Golden Globe win that she got last week.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So that that's
it's
a big push.
Put her on top.
I will just say again, like that's a long campaign. Like within a few days of the Golden Globe win, I did see her say some very nice things about Kanye West, who's an electric and controversial. Like this is a long campaigin, man, and I think that they might be
just a snapshot of where it is. Right
now. That swing is very interesting. I would be surprised. I would be interested to see how long it holds.
I'm with you, Deepak. Who do you have just on sort of narrative culture vibes?
Yeah, the way that Walt uses data and metrics, I just kind of go by vibes, and having just been a neutral observer for like 25 years now. So just on the vibes, I agree. Madigan and Taylor are shoe-ins. I think Grande also gets in. And then my other two are Odessa, Azion. I think there's going to be a bit of a wave that is ridden on the Marty Supreme side of things. And I actually have Emily Blunt getting in for Smashing Machine.
Really?
So I haven't, again, I don't really have any metrics or data. It's just vibes. I could just as easily see Wunmi Mosaku taking that. She's an incredible actress. She should have been nominated years ago for The House or His House, which she wasn't because it didn't really make much of a play there. But regardless, I think the other three are going to be lucky to be nominated. I wonder if there's a world in which maybe Ariana Grande has more support because she'll have been nominated 2 years in a row for the same role, and it's like she has earned it, kind of a Return of the King sort of situation. But I would be surprised if Madigan or Taylor don't win it.
I would also just put in a good word for again, obviously Elle Fanning's in Sentimental Value, and she's an American and she's known, but also Inga Lilias from Sentimental Value. Like the SAG is American, frankly. Like they are the Hollywood actors. That being said, the growth of the Academy has been pretty international, and it wouldn't shock me if Sentimental Value has a little bit more traction among the acting wing of the Academy than it does among SAG. And so if there were a fifth spot, I think that Inga Lilias might be worth looking at for what it's worth.
Well,
she and Elle Fanning were there in a lot of the very, very early ones, and I felt that they had kind of dropped off a little bit, so that's why I didn't include them. But I think there is enough broad support for Sentimental Value that at least one of them gets in.
Interesting, yeah.
I haven't seen the movie yet, so I wouldn't be able to tell you who. But
we can use that to pivot, though, because I feel like Stellan Skarsgård has become sort of the front runner in the last week or so. I mean, we were talking about the Golden Globe mojo, but I feel like that really has rocketed him in a way that I wasn't expecting. It could just also be that I saw a very lovely piece about him this morning on CBS Sunday Morning, where they did a nice little profile of him, and maybe just my heart.
It got him 17%.
And Walt, I'd be curious to get
points.
your perspective on whether or not there's any danger of the dual nomination
splitting the vote. Yeah,
and Benicio del Toro, is that creating?
I think that's genuinely happening. Like I think that I'm very surprised. Like they are both exceedingly good performances in a film that is, I think, not to tip our hand too much, but I would be surprised if anybody disagreed that was the front runner this year. I do think that they are running against each other and it's splitting. I think also, again, they both have one already. So if one of them were considered slightly more worthy in that regard, I think that might have kind of split the difference. But because they're both previous Academy Award winners and in this category, I think that they're just losing out to some slightly better narratives on that front. But that is, again, not entirely my realm of expertise. I was a little, honestly, I was the most surprised by the Elordi win at Critics' Choice. My model doesn't.
I feel bad for Jacob Elordi, who I've only heard people be surprisingly pleased with his performance, and I just feel like he came out in a bad.
He feels a lot like Henry Melling a few years ago for May December, who was a very, very big favorite until he didn't get nominated, and I wonder if Elordi will suffer the same fate. I don't think he will.
Do you mean Charles?
Charles, is that his name?
Yeah. Well, so Henry Melling's the fella from Pillion, and
that's who I'm.
He was in Harry Potter movies. He's excellent. I love. He's such a good character actor. He's got an amazing face. But no, you're thinking of Charles something or another. But no, I totally know Melton. Yes, exactly. But no, that's a great comparison where it's just like, yeah, great performance. I'm interested if that was just kind of a hit on the critics. I'd be intrigued to see how it hits, because also like the thing with SAG this year is that they didn't nominate Skarsgård. And so no small part because nominating Skarsgård necessitates reading subtitles, which actors aren't always the best at historically. And so in this case, like, it is a bit of a choppier category. And I think that Benicio and Penn are both, kind of shoo-ins for nomination. I don't think that either of them are going to necessarily win unless you get some real momentum out of BAFTA or SAG on them. I think that they might just be good nominees in a year where they kind of cancel each other out.
We've got a fifth slot. Should we put Sandler in there?
No.
I was going to say
no.
Absolutely not.
Is there any chance that Miles Caton gets in for Sinners?
Yeah.
Sure.
I think if Elordi doesn't get in, honestly, I think that Elordi is, even though he has a lot of the energy from Critics' Choice, I kind of think that Stellan, Benicio, and Penn, two of those guys are in the biggest movie of the year. One of them is a beloved international actor of stage and screen. Kind of feels like catnip for the Academy's branch at the very least. Paul Mescal, Jacob Elordi, and Miles Caton I would say are kind of competing for those final two spots. And honestly, Mescal's performance in Hamnet could be polarizing. I don't know, but I think that I think that he's good in the film. But I do kind of obviously that is a fairly big shoes to fill in terms of a character to play, so you never know how that's going to go.
Right.
52 minutes in, depending on how I end up cutting this episode. Pretty impressive for this group, I think, to have not talked about the NFC East already. But I'm going to use a metaphor that I have been using all season, which is that, my beloved Washington Commanders are, regardless of how they're ever doing, in Deepak's salty about the Eagles being out, regardless of how they're ever doing, they're just not a team that the league is used to talking about in a positive, excited, proactive way, right? So regardless of who our broadcasters are, or regardless of who we're playing, the broadcasters are clearly uncomfortable having to do things like predict a positive outcome for Washington. It's just not where they're objects in motion are currently moving towards, right? And I always say it's just going to take a couple of years. We're going to have to do some good stuff. Jaden's going to have to perform well. Similarly, I feel like Paul Mescal just is a guy who everybody's just sort of excited to say yeah, give him an award. Why not? I just, he has done all the right things. He's kind of made the right moves. He's sort of been in the right movies, where I feel like he'll just be an easy oh, he played Shakespeare? Sure, toss him in there. That's a fifth. Why not? Whereas it's kind of a tradition that the Shakespeare actor in the Shakespeare movie doesn't. Yeah, he gets to be on the list. Where Miles Stanton, I thought, was incredible and really carried that movie, but I don't know that he he might be more in the commander slot where it just takes a little time before people start talking about you in a positive way. Not to say that he broke his elbow. All right, so on actress, I think everybody says Jessie Buckley. Just engrave it now. But is there anybody in the nomination conversation for us to really get into?
I thought Rose Byrne
100%
has a shot to play spoiler. Yeah,
I think that, again, Buckley very much is on the glide track for it. And that being said, though, with Best Actress, the Critics' Choice and the Golden Globes aren't actually that predictive. They're really again, with best actress is frankly one of the harder ones to reliably predict among these five. There's just there's the precursors aren't as good. Just straightforwardly, you've seen enough upsets. Again, my favorite video of the Oscars that I watched to cheer myself up is Olivia Colman winning, and that's a perfect you really you can kind of see lots of the actress categories in particular are a little bit more difficult to predict than the actor categories, and actress is honestly just it's a tough category. And so even though she's won a Golden Globes and Critics' Choice, either a win at SAG, if somebody else were to pull that off, they would be in the lead. Like whatever has happened so far is kind of just prelude for the big awards at mostly BAFTA and to a lesser extent SAG. And so I don't know if it's necessarily as sealed up as folks give it credit for. In fact, and this is one of the weirder things, is that the Golden Globe for comedy has actually been a little bit more predictive for Best Actress than the Golden Globe for drama in past years, which is kind of strange given that it's completely flipped for both picture and actor. Part of that is just because I think a lot of the roles that tend to win somebody a Best Actress prize aren't often nominated for Best Picture, right? And often are kind of not the films that are directly competing in that front. So long and short is that I think Rose Byrne is a very serious contender, and I don't think that you should fire up the engraving machine quite yet.
That's fair enough. The other three nominees on the SAG side of it are Kate Hudson, Chase Infinity, and Emma Stone. Chase Infinity for One Battle, Emma Stone for Begonia, Kate Hudson for Song Sung Blue. Is that what it's called?
Yep.
Yes. She's been campaigning very hard, apparently.
And people say she's really good at it. So, again, she might just be one where there's goodwill. Deepak, what do you kind of think of?
So I had Buckley, Byrne, Infinity, and Stone, like what you said, not Infinity Stone. But I did instead of Kate Hudson, I had Renata Reinsve for Sentimental Value, in part also as like a mea culpa for a few years ago where she should have been nominated for Worst Person in the World and wasn't.
Right, and she's in Sentimental Value, you said. Yeah, so that I think is another film that just has a lot of actor. It sounds like it has a lot of performances in it.
It's a showbiz kind of movie, right? Like they play actors, right?
I really want to see it.
Jack, like an old director in it.
Does Polymarket do anything to point us in the right direction about this fifth slot? If we have Buckley, Byrne, Infinity, and Stone in our first four?
Oh, I can pull up. Well, I have winner. Excuse me. I can pull up nomination stuff.
Well, sure. Either way, or if there's a fifth name on your winners that has more than one.
Yeah. Sorry. I have Buckley, Byrne, Jennifer Lawrence. You haven't mentioned?
Oh, sure. Jennifer Lawrence. We haven't talked about for Die My Love. Yeah.
Who's also been campaigning quite a bit.
Yeah, she has been. And I wouldn't hate it. And then we'd probably get to see Robert Pattinson, which is always good.
Calm down.
We'd love to see Robert Pattinson places. Okay, fair enough. Jack, shall Jennifer Lawrence be that fifth slot?
Sure.
Let's do it.
We're going by the people.
I like this. I feel like we have a good system going here. All right, in Best Actor, I think
let me tell you,
Timothée Chalamet and Leonardo DiCaprio have been the two that we've all been sort of texting about in our various group chats. But Wagner Moura, I wanted to call out just because this is the first time we've really talked about The Secret Agent, and that seems like a movie that might have like a good amount of vibes behind it. Deepak.
Yeah, it seems to be very topical, just like One Battle After Another. Wagner Moura, I believe, won Best Actor at Cannes, correct me if I'm wrong, earlier this year. And he's obviously been in, maybe not the zeitgeist, but obviously since Narcos, and then, of course, going all the way to like Civil War a couple years ago. He played a pretty substantial part in that one. So audiences are familiar with him, even if it's only as like, oh, I recognize him from that thing. This may be his kind of breakout with this movie and this performance.
Jack, does Michael B. Jordan register twice on Polymarket for the two different performances?
He should. But no,
a scope line and a stack line.
No, he is doing pretty well, though. Looking at the winners list, Timothy has been on the rise over the last month and is pretty high now. But yeah, you are right. Wagner Moura, Leonardo DiCaprio, Michael B. Jordan, Ethan Hawke is on the list.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Yep.
Nobody too surprising.
Really hope Jesse Plemons gets nominated.
I would love that.
He was the next one. He was the one after Ethan Hawke.
Mm-hmm. I would love a Jesse Plemons nomination. I'm not sure how I would. I made a really snarky, I'm just not the biggest Richard Linklater guy in the world, right? Like sometimes his movies really hit for me, other times they're just not my tempo. And I had made a sort of snide passing comment. Maggie asked if I was interested in, is it Blue Moon? That's what it's called?
Yeah.
And I sort of wanted to be snarky about it. And I said I wasn't interested in watching Ethan Hawke walk around on his knees for 2 hours. And then Maggie found something about how they had used the same sort of forced perspective that they used in my beloved Lord of the Rings. So
Right.
now I have
so
assigned
shorter
Egg on your face.
Is he supposed to be shorter than Margaret Qualley? Is that the whole thing?
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
But so Walt, help us out here with these final 2 slots. We got Chalamet, DiCaprio, and Michael B. Jordan as shoe-ins. We've got Wagner Moura as kind of the recently buzzy Golden Globe winner, and we've got Plemons as an exciting vibes pick.
Yeah, again, like models given to me all the way. I think I'm increasingly convinced that it's his year. It had kind of seemed like it was between Timothée Chalamet and Leonardo DiCaprio.
If we put him in enough movies,
hey, listen,
eventually he's gonna win one.
that is how it works, So I like both of them. I kind of think that my vibe on it was that Leonardo had the best performance of the year, but Chalamet, I would not in any way be mad if that won. I think that's a superb performance. The model is giving good value to Wagner Moura. Honestly, I think that the Golden Globes are pretty good at identifying international performances that register well with the Academy, and I think that is absolutely textbook that one. I think again, I think that I would be kind of surprised if Michael B. Jordan doesn't get nominated, though that is a bit more cusp, I think. I do think that losing the Golden Globe head-to-head to Wagner Moura does kind of deal a fairly devastating blow to his ultimate Oscar chances. I think that is like a lot of the model basically really does a good job at appraising head-to-heads. And so like it was tough to look at the Golden Globes and come away with a how does, Chalamet do against a Jordan or Moura, but ultimately you can't really lose those. It's not just about winning precursor awards. It's about not losing them. And as a result, I think that right now what this looks like is that Joel Edgerton is on the outside looking in, as is Jesse Plemons for what it's worth. But I kind of think that those 4th and 5th slots are really a bit of a jump ball. I think that the only thing that I'm really confident in is Chalamet, Moura, DiCaprio, and beyond that, I do think that it could really be up to the acting branch.
You don't think Jordan gets in just on a wave of support for Sinners overall?
I mean, the element here is that Sinners and One Battle After Another are both Warner Brothers, and Warner Brothers' campaign on that has to be very careful because they don't want to pit them against each other. And oftentimes how this materializes is midway through the season, they assess which awards are actually getting juice and throw it behind it. To be honest, like Netflix did this with Jay Kelly. Netflix has Jay Kelly and they have Frankenstein, and you don't really see a lot of energy behind Jay Kelly anymore. Like, they put him up for the Golden Globes because, George Clooney acting in an episode of Bluey will get a Golden Globe nomination. But ultimately, at the end of the day, I don't think that, like, they're going to have to make choices at a certain point or another. And I think that, Sinners not winning where it needs to win, and, because we haven't even gotten to Best Picture yet. But obviously, it going down to Hamnet is not auspicious for how its chances look. I do think that if I'm thinking about where I'm putting all my energy, I am probably putting it more increasingly towards One Battle and less towards Sinners. So, it could happen. Again, obviously, votes already went in on Friday. They're not going to pivot their strategy the week that the Oscar nominations go out. I am intrigued to see how that materializes. I do think that it's a great chance, but I don't necessarily know if that's locked in.
I think it's one of those departments where the nomination is almost more interesting than the win. Like I do sort of feel like Chalamet is kind of a lock, but I'm sort of like, okay, who else populates that field?
Yeah.
Will be interesting to see. All right, director and then picture. So in director, I think we're all pretty happy with PTA, Chloe Zhao, Guillermo del Toro, and Ryan Coogler as 4 of our 5. Is there
agreed
much argument there?
No.
No, not really. I think
Get the Woman Out of Here, says Deepak.
No, not at all. I think Del Toro might be the one who's the most on the cusp out of those 4, but I think, again, there's enough broad support for Frankenstein that he gets in.
Mm-hmm. And what do we do with our 5th? I got a Safdie brother.
Yeah.
You can actually have either Safdie brother.
No, you can't. You can have one of them, and you know which one.
There was a tweet I read when it was like, it's devastating when a duo breaks up and you can immediately tell which one.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I have Jafar Panahi getting into that 5th slot for accident.
That'd be cool.
That would be cool.
Those are 5th and 6th on my list as well.
I got just again, my model's actually not to. It isn't intended to predict nominations, so I just have where the
Right.
current outline looks like for that. The sixth ranked one on mine is Joachim Trier for Sentimental Value. And again, that director's branch is international, but it is very heavily European, and that is also potentially a worthwhile thing to keep in mind when it comes to who the nominations are. Again, Del Toro, I do agree with your assessment that if there is one that could kind of underperform, it would be that. Just because, again, with Frankenstein, Netflix is doing the shotgun style thing, and that usually works, but in some of the branches it doesn't. And I think that director is always very highly competitive, and they're less easy to campaign on. I kind of get the vibe. So yeah.
Sure, that would make sense. I just feel like I mean, I don't know, maybe I am too often trying to grasp for logic in these things that are illogical, but when you have so many departments operating at such a high level, I sort of feel like you need some level of recognition for the director who was in charge of the whole thing. But maybe that's not what we're thinking when we're doing awards nominations. Maybe we're just trying to decide. Plus, he won for that Fish movie. Get him out of here. He's done. He's after
Riley.
Well, so did Zhao for the Francis Wanders Around the West. Walt, I'd be curious to get your perspective on the director race and how things have sort of shifted in the last few years. But I remember when Cooper didn't get nominated for A Star Is Born, being flummoxed by it, not just because of the support that the movie had, but also because there's 3 nominated performances from that movie, and it feels like there's a little bit of a trend away from nominating directors who are good at directing performances. And does Trier get any sort of credit or any sort of a hit does he take because we're expecting anywhere from 2 to 4 nominations in acting for Sentimental Value alone? Does that elevate him? Does that hurt him? Because I don't know if the movie's necessarily a showy directorial effort the way that Sinners, One Battle, or even Frankenstein might be.
Yeah, I think that's a great
Sorry,
observation.
Walt, before you get super into it, I was about to say that interestingly, nominations has Trier very high.
Yeah.
He does not have a good score on win.
That's the exact kind of thing that I would expect specifically for that kind of like a European director of that kind of movie. Also, again, the movie's about a director for what it's worth too, which I think that for all of the for all the knock that you'd potentially give it for not being particularly flashy, showy, and that kind of stuff, it is the classic like actors like nominating actors, making movies about actors, directors, I don't know, like Bob Fosse pulled that up. There's lots of different historical rewards for people in that. Lately, the biggest shift that we've seen in Best Director is that the DGA has remained the gold standard. Typically, it's like 90% accuracy on that kind of stuff when it comes to who ends up winning. You've seen the BAFTAs get a little bit better at. The BAFTAs actually were kind of shit at calling Best Director winners as recently as 2010. They were, maybe getting it right about 30-40% of the time. And then now they're basically like 60-70%, and you haven't really seen that be the result of a lot of Brits getting nominated, which you could sometimes chalk it up as. I think in general they've gotten better at it, but unfortunately we don't have BAFTA nominations, so we just have what we've got. And in that case, I do kind of think the DGA tends to get it mostly right. So if I were to swap people in or out, again, I do think it would be kind of Joachim Trier in or out rather than potentially Guillermo del Toro or something like that.
Del Toro. Yeah.
I think we do have BAFTA nominations, don't we?
We have short lists, long lists, I think.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's another one that just sadly hasn't been announced yet. Okay, cool. I think that sounds like a comprehensive director list. Now we're just left with picture. And again, it feels like there's
fiery, heated debate between all of the different frontrunners.
Does Marty Supreme round out?
I give it to your boy Marty. He gets a nom for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think those 5 are safe.
Okay, so then we have up to 5 more, although we're not sure. And this
it is 5. It's 10.
It has to be 10 now?
Yeah, it's 10.
Yeah, that's been for a few years.
Oh, great. Perfect. That's much better for my brain. And I would love us to talk through what the other 5 look like. And, Walt, I would love for you to give us a sense of, just because I know you have so much insight into it, how the voting is different here for when we're talking about eventually the win. We'll get all these awards, but then how the preferential ballot for the winner of Best Picture is sort of different than the other awards.
Yeah, totally. In this one, the kind of the chalk I would say right now is who got nominated for the Producers Guild. The Producers Guild likes nominating Best Picture winners. they're kind of the opposite of like the New York Film Critics Organization, where like they do kind of want to tip the hand for the Oscars, and their 10 are in declining order of kind of my existing models of praise of them. One Battle After Another, Frankenstein, Sinners, Hamnet, Marty Supreme, Sentimental Value, Train Dreams, Begonia, F1, and Weapons. That leaves out in the cold movies like Jay Kelly, Wicked for Good, It Was Just an Accident, The Secret Agent, and then a few more. So that list looks pretty good to me. I could see maybe one or two kind of swapping their way in or out, but honestly, that kind of encapsulates the field pretty adequately, I'd say. Jay Kelly, I think, is potentially coming up against Netflix only having so much momentum. And I don't know about Netflix's ability to punch two things into Best Picture at this point, given their also general strategic nature of kind of putting all their eggs in one basket. Wicked for Good, I could see doing it. Again, like that movie was pretty well appraised and made a lot of money, and obviously also appears a lot on some of our technical awards, right? And our kind of below the line of recognition. So it wouldn't shock me if that made it up. And I would also say, again, It Was Just an Accident and The Secret Agent also do kind of seem like that could be a bit more appealing to the international Oscars community than the American Producers Guild, which is a fascinating organization in its own right, because it is not a labor organization of management. Like like their existence is somewhat crazy, given that like the Directors Guild is literally a union, the SAG is literally a union, and what do the producers necessarily need a guild for? But either way, they are an organization that does a pretty good job of picking out winners. But to your other point, this is not a preferential ballot quite yet. This is just nominate who you want to nominate. But ultimately, this is decided by a ranked choice ballot, which I like. I think that ranked choice ballots are pretty good. I think that they tend to get outcomes that are broadly amenable to people. And in general, you see the films that win, people tend to see as more broadly amenable than a movie winning with, say, 30% of the vote. That is more controversial for other folks too. So in general, this one is a little bit harder to predict than the other ones, just because you do kind of get that extra jump ball element of instant runoff voting. But that does make it more fun. So I do like that. I am not disappointed by this being hard. I think that makes it more fun. So
Deepak, it didn't sound like you had sent me your list before we did this, and it sounded like your list and that PGA list are pretty closely aligned. Is that?
Yeah, I think
right?
instead of F1, I'm still banking on the industry's kind of love of Wicked for whatever reason. So
that's fair.
That gets in. I have It Was Just an Accident getting in, and I think you also mentioned Weapons. So I think of the five that we mentioned that were not quote unquote a lock, I have Begonia, It Was Just an Accident. What did I have? Weapons, Wicked, and whatever else, something else. Whatever.
Probably Sentimental Value. Yeah, that would make sense. Jackson, when are we missing anything out when you're looking at
I
where
wouldn't
people
say
are laying
so.
their money?
It seems like you're pretty well aligned with people's general expectations.
Okay.
I should have had this pulled
It's like
up
we know
already,
what we're
but
doing.
Let me
It's
see if I
weird.
can get nominations, because
Well, that's great.
as you say, it's a little bit of a runaway with the winner odds.
10 years ago when we had Walt on to do this, I'll say we did not have as closely aligned predictions. So at least we learned over time.
You're onto something. Like one thing I'm going to write about later this season is specifically in supporting, where I think it's most obvious. But the Oscar field is actually, in my view, in a lot of different categories, shrinking each year.
Mhm.
That you have movie studios getting a little bit more optimized with how they operate a campaign, and you see them picking winners earlier and figuring out what they're going to put their energy behind, and really only pushing that, rather than in the past you would see a lot of, obviously there's some great podcasts out there like This Had Oscar Buzz. It's like, lots of movies used to have some extent of Oscar buzz, and in this case they, whether it's a tactical reason, whether it's a financial reason, whether it's just the simple reality that there's fewer studios now than there were 10 years ago, you're seeing the field kind of shrink, even as the category at Best Picture gets larger. And so you are kind of inherently getting a little bit more unanimity of what the 10 movies are, because if you have 7 to 8 studios that are capable of producing Oscar caliber work and actually run a campaign through to the finish line, and then you have 10 nomination slots, it becomes a little bit more of an obvious math problem than if you have, let's say, 12 possible contenders who could produce an Oscar caliber film and only 5 slots. And so it's interesting. It's definitely, you've hit on something that I think is actually a major trend that hasn't really been talked as much about, that is probably worthy of a little bit of consideration.
Well,
let's go. I've got the 10 movies that have better than 50% odds on the site.
All right. Well, I'll read off what I think are 9 of them, and you tell me which one I'm missing.
Sure.
One Battle After Another.
That's number 1.
Sinners.
That's number 4.
Hamnet.
That's number 3. This is going to be tricky, but I'm committed.
Frankenstein.
That's number 6.
Marty Supreme.
That is number 2.
Oh. Begonia.
That is number 7.
F1.
That is number 11.
Asterisk. Okay. Sentimental Value.
That would be number 5.
Weapons.
Weapons is too far for me to want to count, I think.
Wowzers. Okay, hit me with what you've got.
Oh, no, sorry. Weapons is 12.
Hit me with what you've got after number 5.
Sorry, what did you say?
Just read me 6 down.
5. Oh, sorry. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We have Begonia at 7, Secret Agent at 8, Train Dreams at 9, and It Was Just an Accident at 10.
Those are good ones. All right. Well, we'll figure it out. Maybe Secret Agent goes in there. We'll get a finalized version of this ballot locked on the website, and people can head over to nerdigo.com where they can check it out. Walt, thanks so much for joining us. We'll see how much of these we get right or wrong.
Yeah.
And then we'll pay you.
Great. Jackson's on a lock for that.
Yeah, great. Where do I send my 1099? I'm super interested in this.
I was gonna say, here's what I can do. The blog is Numlock News. The book is You Are What You Watch. Anything else you want to plug? Any insights you want to give anybody into any of that stuff, what they can find, etc.?
Yeah, I mean, so you've hit the 2 ones. The Oscars blog is a spinoff of Numlock, and that is, you can find that at the convenient URL awards.news. But yeah, Numlock's usually the pretty best way to find it. Everything else you can find through that. So yeah, thanks for having me on. This is so much fun to talk about. It's very, very exciting to talk to people who really care about the smart part of this and really want to get in there. So I had a ton of fun, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you for joining us. And I'll blow through the credits real quick. Thank you to Purple Planet for our music. Thank you to Bruno Meneses for editing and producing this show. Thank you to you for watching and supporting us. Make sure you share this out to some friends, etc., etc. Nerdigo.com. Nerdigo Media on all the socials. Don't forget to tune in next week to hear
fiery, heated debate between all of the different frontrunners.